ladies and gentlemen. You are live. You are here. You are in the place that you not want to be. You are in the place you need to be. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Friday night extravaganza of the multiverse. This is the greatest thing happening in the universe. My name is Eric Zant. This is the A2Z Program, and I would like to welcome you. And I would also like to welcome frequent guest, one of my closest friends that I've ever had in my. You're over here. What am I doing this for? Ladies and gentlemen, you know him, you love him. This is Mr. Joel Deckard, everybody.
Hey, y'all.
Joe, how you doing, man?
All right, man. How are you?
Oh, doing well, doing well. We're as you probably are, fighting the heat up here. It's been pretty sporadic. You getting hot? You getting heat down there?
Go ahead.
Did you see in the coming week that it's going to get super fucking hot?
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yeah,
I'm ready for fall, man.
dude. Are you one of those guys too? I like fall. I like
Yep.
the whole thing about it, man. Like everybody gets crazy about summer. Everybody gets like all and I get it. Summer's fun, but dude, there's just something about fall. Like it's not too cold during the day, but it's nice and crisp at night if you want to throw a fire or chill out. It's a lot of fun, dude. So listen. Give us a little snippet of what you've been up to lately. I'm going to share our show out. So talk to me a little bit. What's been going on down in deep in the heart of PA?
Oh, not a whole lot. Just everything same as everything.
Same as everything. Dealing with the with everything that's fucked up with the world like everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I live in a pretty quiet neighborhood. I'm pretty lucky
That's cool.
that way. So, and I just try to keep to myself a lot.
Yeah, you almost have to nowadays, man, because people are crazy. Like with all these shootings and like all these like these jerks, like I don't get it, man. Like it's so weird. So yeah, I'm trying to share the show out here, and I'm not. Oh, we got my friend Jaime. Jaime, how you doing, brother? And Terzio, what's up, Terzio? Terzio's a ball buster. He's on. He likes to get on all of our shows and stuff, but he's a great guy. Terzio, what's up? Timmy, unfortunately, as everybody's probably noticing, conspicuous. Who said that? Gorilla Monsoon, conspicuous by his absence.
By his absence, yep. Gorilla.
Gorilla. Conspicuous by his absence is Tim Tabala. Tim's a little under the weather. Tim got boosted tonight, so he's kind of feeling iffy. So he will probably join us at some point. So hopefully, Tim, feeling better, and we hope you get here with us. And I've already made a mistake. Faraci, the boss, already just told me that I messed up. It's not episode 57. We're actually at episode 58. So that's that's what we're doing right now. So this is episode 58, everybody. It's not episode 57. So we're going to have to fix that. So on that point, Joel, we were just talking backstage before we went on. I know this isn't a wrestling show, but we're wrestlers and we talk about wrestling, and it's something I like communicating with a kindred spirit about, especially somebody who has actually not just been in the business but been in it longer than me. We were talking about Kenny Omega, and I have my little shtick with him on our wrestling show. I shit all over him, and because I'm a big I'm a big Cornette guy, and
Right.
I really like Cornette, and I think it's funny all the shit that he says about him, which a lot of it's true. But you and I were actually talking. He's actually a phenomenal worker, and you were telling me. What were you saying about the Japanese work that he did with was it Okada? You said, yeah. Go ahead.
I'm a big fan of New Japan. Period.
Yeah, you always have been.
Yeah, I just always really liked how they worked over there, the strong style, and I thought his I thought he was great over there. I thought his matches with Okada, especially, were outstanding. And that he just didn't seem to have that same fire when he came over here with All Elite. Right?
No, and it's not that. Like I said, I like the guy, and I think he's, like you just said, a fantastic worker, and that work over there was great. But it's almost like everybody is so, and tell me if you share this opinion. Everybody is so anti WWE. Not everybody, but a lot of the sentiment in wrestling is anti WWE, and everybody for a time there, it kind of climaxed with CM Punk. Everybody was trying to do whatever they could to not be part of WWE and to promote a different wrestling organization. It seemed like when they snatched him up, they were really trying to like power it up, because A&E is more comparable to, or A&E, AEW is more comparable, in my opinion, to NXT than it really is the WWE itself. Do you agree with that, or am I?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, because AEW's got some talent, and they've got some young talent, but they're not utilizing them. And I don't know, dude. What are they doing wrong, you think?
One thing that I noticed in the business, period, when we were younger, they made stars.
Yeah.
They don't do that, at least not to the point where they did how they did then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's the biggest. I mean, the guys are, how do I say this without sounding rude? There's a presence factor that isn't there now, like it was. I mean, some guys have it. Obviously, Brock Lesnar, some guys have that, but it's not as prevalent today as it was back in the day.
I agree. Do you feel it's that? It almost seems like a lot of these guys are want the limelight right away. They want to be in the spotlight right away, and it's like they don't. It seems to me, and you know what? It's unfair too, Joel, because they didn't have like the real indies. Like when you and I were starting out, we had all these independents to do, and they were almost like territories, almost like you had an indie in Lebanon, you had an indie in Maryland, we had an indie up here in New York, and we had Pops's thing, and we got to travel around. I mean, yeah, sure, nobody made a lot of money, but we got experience and we learned the craft.
Right.
It's like nowadays, man, these guys are almost like cookie cuttered into this developmental program, and then thrown right on TV, and they're like these big stars. They're throwing cameras and sparklers and fireworks and fucking 75 fucking 1,000-foot cameras and stuff, and it's like that. I think that's getting like, it's presenting to them like, well, look at me now, I'm a big deal, but like they're forsaking that for like solid in-ring work. And like that, I think what you're alluding to is where things get filtered. Like, okay, as it gets going on and he gets becoming a good worker, some guys may look good, but they may be shit for work, and they're not putting asses in seats. And I think they're forsaking that ethic, that good, that like killer drive. Like, dude, I mean, we wanted to be wrestlers, dude. We just didn't do it because like, oh, hey, dude, we ate, slept, and breathed wrestling. We worked out. When we weren't wrestling, we worked out. We had to go to our job. We went to our job. But dude, when we were done, we were working out. We were going down to the ring, and we were working out in the ring, and we were doing all this, and we were going around meeting other people. It's like these guys seem like isolated now. It's just like they're just caught, and they can't, like you said, they can't find that thing. Like you said, Brock Lesnar's totally got it. Cena kind of had it. Like Cena, he had an it factor about him, man.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, it's not that it doesn't exist anymore. It just not like it was.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, guys like Brody and Hanson and Vader, they had a presence.
Yeah.
The Road Warriors, the Warlord, the Barbarian. So many of those guys you look at and they were wrestlers. there were guys that most people wouldn't want to fight with.
No.
Would you want to get in a ring with that guy? It was that kind of thing, you know?
Exactly. Would you? I mean, that's like if you're out, man. Like if you go out to a bar and you see the fucking Legion of Doom out there, it's like your first thing you're gonna say is Jesus, no thanks, man. Yep. But if you go out and you see like CM Punk and Bryan Danielson and like the Young Bucks hanging out, I would be like. I'm like, what, what did the frat party just get out? Seriously. And I'm not trying to downplay it, but dude, wrestlers were like, we were a different breed. Like we kind of existed outside of circles that were the norm of that time. Like we weren't like popular, we were unpopular, but we were our own niche. We were tough guys that wanted to get into the ring and prove ourselves because we loved wrestling. We liked the physicality of it. We liked, the psychology of it. But more importantly, man, we just like getting in there and beating people up. And it's something we could do that, without, beating people up for real. We could do something like that. But dude, we were, like I said, we're a different breed. And I was going to ask you, I read an article where Taker said that a lot of these guys, for lack of a better term, I don't know verbatim exactly what he said, but basically, these guys are soft now, and they're just not. They don't have that tough, like, because dude, as well as I do, and I mean, we got our fucking asses kicked by Samoans. I mean, tell me another, kind of person other than a Samoan who's tougher than a fucking Samoan. There's no. I mean, these fucking guys just are bred for wrestling, and they're just big, tough guys, and dude, they kicked the shit out of us. But
yeah,
like, dude, especially me. I mean, you're a great big guy, and you're a big bone, big raw boned, big. If anybody who hasn't seen Joel in person, he is a specimen. He's a great big, super strong dude, and I'm more of like a leaner, like. Bounce around. I mean, I have a build to me, and I'm for what I am, I'm strong. But compared to like guys like you, I'm not like that. But I had a bit of that toughness too. Like I was a pretty tough guy, even though I was a tall, lanky, blonde-haired guy. But like when I first got in there, and I'm sure that you share this too. Like first of all, I didn't know what I was getting into. And second of all, when like I started getting my ass kicked over my shoulders left and right, I was like, wow, but you know what? When that starts, man, there's something right here that either clicks and says, wow, I like this, or oh fuck, I gotta get out of here. And dude, it clicked in me. Like I was like, dude, I love this, man. This is what I've been looking for. And do you feel that way too? Like kind of everything I've been saying, like the
I wouldn't. I don't know that I wouldn't call the guys today soft. I mean, their work rate is phenomenal.
I
mean, they do things in the ring now that I couldn't have imagined back then.
True. That's true. That's very true.
It is definitely different. I know what I remember. I heard the interview with Taker.
Okay, so you heard that one? What was he saying in that?
Well, pretty much, yeah, it's different. I mean, Taker came along, well, he's old enough to have been in the territories.
Yeah.
Whereas we missed that.
Yep.
But I think, he's one of those guys that drove 3,000 miles in a week.
Yeah.
To make all his shots. And that kind of grind, I don't think that exists today.
No.
I don't think the WWE guys are working, 300 days a year anymore. I mean, no. I remember hearing him, Ric Flair say there were years where he was home 7 or 8 days out of the year.
Wow.
Christmas Day, he would leave in the morning to go wrestle.
Yeah, because they would have a spot show somewhere, right, on Christmas, to catch. And you're right. And it's like I was reading, like you can find like schedules and then what they do and stuff like. So I was reading an interview with, I can't remember what wrestler, but he was a WWE wrestler. I believe it said that they work like 2 or 3 days a week, and that's like a lot if they do. Like that's, for that kind of thing. Do you think is okay? First of all, is that true? And second of all, does that um like perpetuate why they're getting injured so much? I mean, the high spots are one thing. I mean, you could argue about that all day, but the condition these guys are in, they can take it. But do you almost feel that the other conditioning, like the bashing, the up and down the ropes, everything, do you kind of feel like what is it, Joel? Why are these guys getting injured so much? I can't figure it out, and I really want a stronger opinion on this. Why do you think that?
It does seem that the industry is more plagued with injury than it used to be, for sure. I mean, you never heard about Flair sitting on a shelf.
No.
You know, it's, and the old guy, the territory guys, they'd work all these days and managed to stay pretty much injury free. I'm sure things happen here and there, but it is more prevalent now.
Oh, 100%. And it's like
the chances they're willing to take in the ring now for the spots that they do. I mean, yeah, dude, they fly, man. Dude, and I got to think that just, I mean, that kid in All Elite that hangs out with Sting, that Darby Allin, he takes bumps that are just sick,
dude. What was it a couple months ago? He did this ridiculous friggin' bump, and like it was like it was highlighted like afterward. Like, was it on Sting or whatever it was? Was it like off a lat? Do you remember what I'm talking about? That big huge bump that he did, and it was like, holy fuck, is he gonna be almost? Or was it? Am I thinking Jeff Hardy? Was it something to do with the Hardys, that last match that they had?
It might have been Jeff. I do remember Jeff taking a massive bump in one of the last matches I saw him in. Yeah, and I remember thinking, man, Jeff is no spring chicken anymore. How much longer can he do this?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because, and then of course, everything kind of fell apart in his life, which is sad,
It is.
And you would honestly, I would have thought that instead of being so apprehensive and wanting to sign Jeff so fast, I would have thought that maybe AEW would have thought like, okay, the WWE were having these questionable things with him for a reason. We should look into this before we bring him in. But they didn't. They just brought him in and threw him right in. And as we come to find out, he was having some more substance abuse problems. But that, I think, speaks to what is different between AEW and WWE. AEW is just, they just want to be like, Tony Khan just wants to be the greatest booker, promoter in the world, and he does anything to get himself over. And I think they slacked a little bit. Like, I would have been like, all right, man, Hardy's, not only is he in his 40s, but like something was going on in WWE. We should have investigated this. Do you think I'm right? Or
yeah, I mean, clearly there was something going on. I mean,
yeah,
look where he is now.
Yeah,
it's really, no one saw that coming.
No, I mean, they had to have, because it was only like after that match, he was arrested and that embarrassing video came out. That's the other thing with all this fucking social media, man. It's like, you can't, like, dude, you're not getting away with anything nowadays. No. Wrestler, actor, athlete, especially athlete. Athletes are really scrutinized now.
They are. And for us, it's worse. For wrestlers, it's worse. Because it was so visible. The guys are,
Yeah.
and now more so even than when we were in it, because of social media.
Yeah.
The visibility is so high, but the credibility is not.
Yeah.
Because it's pro wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think that works against the guys.
It does.
And it's pro wrestling.
Yeah. Oh,
the public doesn't know what you go through in there. They they can only guess. It's like Pops used to tell us. They can only see, they can't feel.
They can't. Exactly. Oh my God. I'm so glad you brought that and said that, because that's exactly that used to comfort me. When I would come home and like everybody would, because you always have the people that are behind you and support you. But you also have the people that are like, they want to take any shot they can at you. But like, it's like, what comforted me through that was like, I was doing something that I know 95 or 6% of the population either can't or won't do. So that helped me through that too. Just exactly what you're saying there. But yeah. So real quick, another thing on wrestling here, quick, and then we'll scatter about. The Vince McMahon thing. Everybody's aware, everybody knows, whatever's going on and whatever Vince did, blah blah blah. What interests me at the moment right now more than Vince's story is, so you got Stephanie, who is now co-CEO with Nick Khan, who I never heard of this guy till about a year ago. I didn't even know he was, relevant in the company, but apparently he was an executive. So Stephanie comes back, and everybody thought Triple H was done and on the shelf, and he comes back. Now he's head of talent relations, he's head of booking, he's back in NXT. I mean, he went from like here to here, and like it appears to me that Steph and he are running the game now. No pun intended. That calls into question. They're also saying, okay, so some older guys that have been with the company that have helped bring it in the direction that it's in, away from wrestling, more entertainment, which I don't agree with, because like you and I both agree, we like the strong style pro wrestling. We like pro wrestling, man. We want to see wrestlers. We don't want to see whatever. But like, you got guys like Kevin Dunn, even Pritchard, who was brought back. I mean, Pritchard was the ultimate yes man to fucking Vince. I mean, that guy will try to kiss Vince's ass, 3,000 miles away. I mean, this guy just. How do you feel about this now? Because I was never the biggest Triple H fan, but I gotta respect him because he was a phenomenal worker. He does have one of the best minds in the business, and he loves the business. Do you think this is going to be better now? Do you think he's going to try to get in here and say, all right, look, we've been doing this bullshit for too long. Something's got to give. Do you feel that's something like that's on its way?
I hope so.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big fan of comedy and or silliness. When I got in, it was explained to me that you're supposed to be two guys fighting.
Yeah.
And the whole comedy thing, unless it's like real organic, it doesn't come off well for me. Not many can pull that off. And I like to see, as you say, I like to see wrestling matches. Tell me a good story in the ring.
Yeah.
I always said that, to me, my idea of a good match is just two guys who go out there and give everything. To have a good match. And it seems like I know they're producing television, but it's kind of like an overproduced rock and roll album.
Perfect. That's a perfect analogy of that.
Not so much polish,
Right. But they dotted their I's, crossed their T's, and threw it in the approval bucket to see if it makes the cut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so much into their TV production. It's the pro wrestling gets pushed to the side. I always wondered how Michael Cole did it. How do you talk about wrestling for 3 hours a night and not once say the word wrestling?
Isn't that bizarre?
You can't say wrestling. You can't say belt. There's all these words you can't say.
And dude, it's all from fucking Vince going fucking crazy. I mean, let's be honest, Joel. This guy, Vince, one of the greatest, if not the greatest mind in the business. I mean, at least from the business standpoint. He just kind of like started like going off the rails here, like when the company went public and it got huge and huge and huge. So you're not saying wrestling anymore, you're not saying belt anymore. You know what I mean? Like you said, Michael Cole, who, listen, man, I know Michael Cole's been with the company 20 years, and I know, but dude, I don't get Michael Cole. Like, he doesn't resonate with me like Monsoon, Ross.
No,
even Vince McMahon, dude. Like, Vince was a fun commentator.
Yeah, he was.
He was, because he kayfabed it right to the end, man. But like Michael Cole just doesn't do it for me. He's like he's like in the vein of Bruce Pritchard. He's just there to kiss ass. He's a yes man. He's a company man.
And with Cole, I've often wondered how much people are barking in his ear while he's trying to do his job.
You think that? That's a good question.
It's how much what heat is he taking that the audience doesn't see?
Yeah, because
they want him to say. I often wonder if they just leave them off his leash.
Yeah, let him.
The whole thing is so produced, overly produced.
Overly produced. It's sickening. It's sickening. Because, dude, can you remember, like, watch one of those old Crockett WC or NWA show, or even like when they started making the shows a little bigger, like, or even like the old WWF, like, those guys were organic. Those guys, like, when Hogan came out, like, he was doing his whole big, rant, and Savage was doing this whole thing. And dude, that was just, they were coming off the cuff, and they were, but they were, amplifying the character that they are, themselves.
Yep.
That's who they were. And like, dude, you mentioned comedy, like the slapstick comedy shit. Like, I am 100% on board with you. I just can't. It doesn't jive with me, man. Like, when I think of a funny wrestling, related thing, I think of Roddy Piper. And Roddy Piper, it was just natural to him. That's who he was.
Yep.
He could make fun of you. He put you down. He could put you down nicely, and it's still, you know what I mean? It's like he had that. Jericho tried to do that, but I think Jericho tried a little too hard. But yeah, dude, it's so overproduced. But do we think Triple H is gonna, like, it already seems to me with some of the statements that he made, like, listen, man, we're gonna bring you a product that blah blah. Even Stephanie, like, she didn't use big words like brand and all this stuff. It's like we're gonna try to bring you back, the show that
I hope so, because when he was running NXT, they were the black and gold brand, and I really, really liked what he was doing.
That was good.
I really enjoyed. I never missed the show. I certainly never missed one of their bigger shows. The takeover shows. They were great.
They were great. Did you ever get to see any live?
No. I wish. No, I never got to see any live.
I haven't either.
And what they do with these kids, the way they bring them off, they bring them down there and then they get them into shape quick. Like the Authors of Pain when they were around.
Mm-hmm.
They impressed me. They were two big boys.
They were.
That, they were very athletic. I guess one was an MMA guy, one was a big-time amateur wrestler. But it wasn't long before they were in there. And when you're big and you're working with smaller guys, making that look competitive, it's not always so easy to do. But they did well, considering, how long they hadn't been around at that point.
From a big guy standpoint, in the last, let's say, 10 years, who of big men did you appreciate, like, that maybe did or didn't get a shot but could or should have? You mentioned those guys. Were there other guys that you saw that you thought could have been like, wow, this guy could be a monster, or wow, this guy's a great big, like, they could do something with him? Were there guys that you actually liked and appreciated that
I think
didn't?
Yeah, I think Brian Cage moves exceptionally well for as big as he is. He's a big kid.
Yeah.
Um, Lance Archer,
Ooh.
he's another big one, well experienced, big boy. Um, Harry Smith,
Oh shit! I forgot about
talented
him.
off the charts, man. It's when I see Harry Smith work, it's like, my God, what promoter wouldn't want him?
Yeah, I mean he's a good looking guy.
Yeah,
He's big. What is he, like 6'5"?
yeah, yeah.
Like 270 pounds. Like
And
he's
and,
just
and yeah, and since he's technically so sound, and it's just a hell of an athlete.
oh my god. Does he remind you of like a mixture of Brett and Bulldog when he works?
Yeah, yeah,
I see that totally. I really do.
yeah. Everything.
He
Yeah.
what do you feel do you think he's better off now doing the indie shots he does and like what MLW and all that? Is he in AEW? I thought he might.
No,
I thought
I don't
he's
think
not.
he is.
Okay, he's just MLW, maybe Impact here and there.
Yeah. I wish he had a bigger stage to perform on. I've never seen MLW, but from what I hear, it's a great company.
I
Wish,
actually no, go ahead.
I wish they had a bigger platform to more visibility.
At least like a weekly show, right? Like something
Right.
that was on that we could check out. You know what? Speaking of that, I'm gonna throw it over to this. Do you ever get a chance to watch NWA Power?
No,
Dude,
and I'd love to.
it's on YouTube, and they put it on every week. And listen, man, that has got and they use and it's funny because sometimes they overuse the word wrestling. It's so great.
Right.
And like, but listen, man, there are some talented dudes there, and there are some great matches there, and even like the promos before and after the match, and it's like they're not trying to replicate the old like Crockett years, but they've kind of like brought it into the new, the modern age, and it's really 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 cool. If you get a chance, please check out NWA Power. It's really really good.
I will say this about the big men in the business today.
Yeah, go on about that.
One thing, when the change happened, when Vince got drugged into court, the whole steroid deal, then you started seeing smaller guys.
Yeah.
And more technical work rate, that whole business. It kind of forced the bigger guys to be. They're held to a higher standard now, I think, and I think that's good.
Yeah.
You just can't be some big load of concrete in there. That doesn't fly anymore.
That's very good. No, that's a super good point.
One thing I realized when I first got in, I had come from a big powerlifting background. And I learned pretty quick how well I couldn't move.
Oh.
And the things that I couldn't do, and that really bothered me.
Did it really?
Oh, yeah.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, my God. Sam and Lloyd and, all those guys, they would effortlessly kick me upside the head.
Yeah.
I couldn't move. I wasn't nimble like those guys.
Wow.
And that bothered me a lot.
No shit. Mm-hmm. See, I always thought your work, you had a very, very unique skill set. I always thought that's why, like, I think I was initially drawn to you. Well, we just clicked anyway. Like, we clicked right off the bat. That wasn't even a flash in the thing. We instantly clicked, and that's still something dear to me. But whenever I'd watch your match, because I would always make it a point, I tried to watch most of the matches, because you want to learn.
Yep.
But like I always loved it when you went out there because like you had this like slow, like you were like this deliberate, methodical, like approach. But then like you do some really really super cool impact moves. And dude, I don't know if you get told it a lot, but dude, you were, for a big dude, man, you were pretty technically sound. Like you threw arm bars and chain wrestled as good as anybody did. I mean, I really, that's what I really liked about when I was first watching all your stuff. I was like, fuck, this guy's huge, but he can work. You know, that's what was really cool for me. Yeah. No, I got to plug you, dude. I gotta put you up on this thing.
I Bret Hart and Kurt Hennig, and I'd watch guys like that, and everything they did had a purpose. It was so deliberate and so on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they had such a delivery, and I always tried to emulate that.
There was a lot of Henning in your work, dude. Like you, it was really cool because, like, you know, especially back then, you know, a lot of guys, their favorites were Shawn Michaels, you know, Razor Ramones, and we were in that era, like, as they were transgressing to, like, the NWO and stuff. But like you and I, like, took from, like, you know, I was, you know, and we're both huge Von Erich fans. I took a lot of Kerry's, you know, I have a lot of Kerry's moves. I loved the way Kerry moved in the ring. He was fluid. He threw a fucking wicked right hand. Mm-hmm. And he was nimble. And even after he lost his foot, I mean, this guy was still agile. But, like,
amazing. Well, they were him and Kevin and David. My God,
three, almost hard to find a more talented three wrestlers. Just name right off the bat. Like, they were just incredibly gifted. But back to Henning, you talk about effortless and talk about natural. This guy may have, like, I've argued with guys, man, like, Kurt Henning might be the greatest actual professional wrestler in the world there ever was, because he was just so goddamn good.
Yeah,
it was almost sickening. Like if he got into a match with a guy that, like, was good but not, like, super good, like, it was almost embarrassing watching him, like, float around him, like.
Yep.
And he could work with anybody. I mean, you talk about working with a broomstick. Like, mm-hmm. this guy could work with the Invisible Man. You know what I mean? And make it look. He was so freaking talented, man.
And the way that he would sell sometimes.
Yeah.
It was almost, how do I say it? I don't want to say it. It was maybe because he was bored, but he was just. It looked like he was just animating the match, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And it made you like, wow, what the fuck? What did he just do? You know, it's like, mm-hmm. and it was so, and well, I think what we're both, like, circling to here is that it piqued your interest while watching the match.
Yep.
You know, definitely. like you said, they told a story. Your interest was snatched during that match, and you're like, well, I'm invested now. I have to see what happens. I don't think that is prevalent today. I really don't. I really, really don't.
Well, there's, you know, everybody wants to get their shit in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a big deal.
That's a big deal. Get their shit in. That's fucking perfect. And it's like that whole bullshit. Okay, so get their shit in. That whole bullshit with the women there. Banks being all butthurt about the way they're. You know what? Listen. Can you imagine if you or I, like, went to Pops and said, and he told us, and, you know, we didn't go over the whole match A to Z. He just told us, we ought to see this, mm-hmm. and this is how this is going to end. You know, incorporate this in. Otherwise, you and I were calling the match. You know, the heels calling the match, and right. You know what I mean. And I'm bumping my ass off or whatever. So, can you fucking imagine if I said to Pop, well, no, I don't feel like I'm getting enough of my stuff in. I don't want to do that. I mean.
I would have never dared.
No.
Never.
No. And not just out of fear, but out of respect.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like,
you know, what Office said, that's what goes.
That's what goes. He's the boss, dude. He's the booker.
He's the man who's been all over the world. He's the man who's, you know, been to the top of the mountain. I had no problem. I would have never, you know, and sometimes I wondered why he did some of the things he did, at the time I didn't see, but looking back, but no,
Yeah.
I would have never dared.
No, dude. I like Scott Hall's philosophy about working. You're doing what's best for the show. I'm doing what I have to do. So if I've got to put you over or Lucifer Grimm over or Vince or Shane Black, if I get told like you're putting them over tonight, okay, I'm putting them over. I'm gonna make you look as best as I can. That's my job that night.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, it isn't about like whatever because it's not going to make me or discredit my work any better. If anything, you know, my work's going to showcase the match and put him to a plateau, or move you up. But my in ring work will get noticed too. You know, it's just these egos, man. These egos today are just fucking terrible. They're just fucking terrible. It's like I equate it. You're gonna like this. If you see album covers, if you can actually find an album nowadays,
Yeah.
if you see album covers today, and like think about this, Joel, how all right, I'm gonna open up your mind here. Like, let's go down this rabbit hole. How great were the album covers of the 70s and 80s?
Oh my God,
Dude.
Molly Hatchet, Nazareth. I mean, you can think of 100 bands that had spectacular album art.
And you could, and that's just like in the first minute you're talking. I mean, there's so many more. Like ELO.
Even today. I mean, look at the power metal albums. Rhapsody. You know, a lot of the Blind Guardian, Elven King.
Blind Guardian. Wow, very good one there.
You know, yeah, I'm a big power metal guy.
You're into that?
Oh yeah,
dude. Power metal's fun. Like
it is.
I understand that. Like, you know, if you're hanging out with a different set of your buddies and you throw it on and they're like, oh, you know, it is an eclectic taste, an acquired taste. But dude, I really like it. My girlfriend actually really likes it too. She likes shit like that. But no, dude, power metal. So like some older power metal, like Man of War. Is that considered something like that?
Actually, when I think of older power metal, you know, my thoughts go back to like 70s Judas Priest. A lot of that was power metal.
Oh,
you know, Heaven and Hell from Black Sabbath was a power metal album, I think.
Wow, you are right. It absolutely was.
I mean, if you think about it, and
it
of
absolutely
course,
was.
I give Richie Blackmore from Deep Purple. To me, he's like the father of power metal with Rainbow.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, and Ronnie James Dio gets a lot of the credit, but who gave Dio that stage to perform? Who, you know what I mean? Who introduced Ronnie to the world?
Who was writing the music?
Right.
You know, there had to be a melody to acquiesce those lyrics. I mean, the lyrics were fun. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But dude, some of those hooks, like some of those riffs, like those Blackmore riffs, like you know, everybody's like, oh, Smoke on the Wall, but dude, no, there's so many more. Like, dude, you and I always go. You and I have a go-to song that we both love, man. It's Perfect Strangers. Like, how that is one of the greatest songs ever. Like, I just love that song.
I could think of very few albums that I think are just perfect, where every song is just. And that album, Perfect Strangers, the album is one of those albums.
You know what? You're absolutely right. It is. Yeah. You're not gonna find a bad tune on that because, man, I just, you know, and it like you used the term earlier, overly produced. It wasn't overly produced, but it was produced just right. Like it was, everything hit just right. Like they knew what they were doing just right. They knew what they wanted to hear, you know. It was so good.
5 master musicians at like the peak of their abilities there.
Oh my God, yeah. And there's a fun video. I know you've seen it. The video associated with that song. It's kind of
Yeah,
cool when they're behind the scenes. Yeah, it's hilarious, dude. And it's some good old shots of those guys, you know, when they were like, you know, approaching like, you know, late 30s, early 40s. It was
Yep.
fun.
It was a
You are,
shame that Richie and Ian couldn't get along better because, my God, they made magic when they should.
dude, like it was phenomenal. And it's like, you know, it goes back to the old thing, like the petty grievances. And I bet
Yeah.
you they both, you know, had they both looked back on it, they probably think like, fuck, man, we could have just buried that quick. And, you
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
uh, you mentioned an album. One of the like you said, that's an album that you can listen start to finish, and it's not a bad song. I always think whenever somebody says that, mentions that term to me, I always think of like Rain and Blood. I always think of like Ride the Lightning, like, and Ride the
Yep.
Lightning's a tough one because a lot of people don't appreciate Ride the Lightning, but
Oh, I
Ride the
love that
Lightning.
album.
Oh, dude, what's your favorite? What's give me? I mean, it's tough to pick a favorite song off of it, but if you had to just say, man, one song off Ride the Lightning, like, what is it?
Creeping Death.
Creeping Death. Perfect. Oh, that song is so great. It's one of those songs. Like, if you weren't a Metallica fan, you would be, or you'd at least appreciate them more after hearing that because it's
Yep.
heavy. The lyrics are really cool. You know, the lyrics are really cool. The story they tell is really cool. You know what song I like off Ride the Lightning, man, is and everybody and, you know, Hetfield hates it, but I like Escape, man. Escape was always one of my
Oh, yeah.
favorites.
Escape's a great song.
Isn't it great?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonder why Hetfield hates that so much. You ever?
I, I gotta, you know, maybe that was supposed to be the radio song.
You know what? You're right. I didn't think
You know?
about that. That might be because that is a more toned down.
It is. It's got there's a bit more melody to it. It's, you know,
Yep.
it's not as thrash
Yeah.
maybe as the rest of the album.
I mean, dude, if you're mentioning Creeping Death, you've got to mention Fight Fire with Fire. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
that's one of my fucking all-time favorite Metallica songs is Fight Fire with Fire. Buenas noches, Jaime. Thank you for joining us tonight. In the comments over here. I'm not putting up many comments tonight. Jaime says, I guess we were talking about Henning. Him, Steamboat, and Brett were great to watch. He's not wrong.
No,
Steamboat was another one. We didn't even mention him. But yeah, did you happen to catch Metallica put an album out, I think in 2008 called Death Magnetic?
I never listened to it.
Never listened to it?
No, the last album that I really sat and listened to was the Black Album.
Okay.
I kind of lost interest after Justice for All.
That's fair. That's fair because that's kind of more of a vein. That's the vein of kind of music that you and I like. You know, that's what we are. That kind of music. Death Magnetic is actually a fun album.
Is it?
I'm guilty of buying Load and Reload just because I wanted to check it out and I listened to them and I didn't really care for them. Devil Dance is all right. There's a couple of songs that are okay, but it's not Metallica to me. But when Death Magnetic came out, it wasn't really hyped up a lot. It was hyped up enough because it was a Metallica album, but like I downloaded it, I guess, because that's back when the iPods, those little iPods were popular and you could go on fucking Apple and download them. I actually downloaded that whole album and I put it on and I can't remember if Cyanide was the first or the sixth song, but however it was, when that came on, I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, what's going on here? Like, dude, Cyanide is a fucking great song, dude.
Is it?
Like, if you want to like check out Death Magnetic and fool around with it, dude, there's some other great. I mean, it's heavy, dude. It's not that Saint Anger bullshit or the Load and Reload bullshit, dude. It's fucking heavy and it's good. Like, it's good. It's not great. It's good. It's like, you know.
Me, I liked Justice for All.
I did too.
and I wanted Justice for All Part 2.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Well, to me, I thought Justice for All was a more progressive side of Metallica.
Wow. I never thought of it that way.
And, you know, I was curious, all right, where do they go from here?
Mm-hmm.
And then the Black Album came out, which seemed more stripped down.
Yeah.
More basic.
Yep.
And,
Definitely.
I understand why they did it. A lot of times when bands switch gears, it pisses the fans off. And it did me too when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
But, you realize as an artist, you change.
Yep.
I mean, as a wrestler, I certainly changed from the time I, got in my initial to the time I left the business.
Yeah.
So I can't fault any artist for doing that. Especially, I mean, Metallica made a lot of money. They, I mean, my God, biggest metal band ever.
And that, I think, I could be wrong. I mean, I'm throwing it out into space here, hoping I catch some sort of if I get one of these right. I think the Black Album ranks among the top 10 highest grossing albums of all time. I think it's in the company of like Thriller and like the Eagles' greatest hits, which
I'd have no trouble believing that. It's huge. Black Album's huge.
Dude, I can remember, man, back when it came out, like, dude, you would hear at every station, whether it was just a rock station or a heavy rock station or like an alternative station that played everything. Like, dude, there was gonna be a song off the Black Album on that station, dude. They played it everywhere. Yep. And it did get like, beaten to death, but it's fun to kind of revisit now and listen to it. Because like you said something important, Joel, to me anyway, is like you change as you get older, especially if you're an artist or you're like a wrestler, anything like that, football player, boxer, you change. Your style changes, your taste changes. I actually listened a few years ago. I got the Black Album on. I put it on YouTube, and like I heard a lot of things that I didn't hear initially when I was an angry kid, because you're a pissed off teenager and you're like, what happened to my fucking Metallica? But now, and I'm not saying I think it's a great album. I think it's an okay album. I think they did good. And like you said, I understand why they did it, but there are songs that are fun, but like it doesn't strike my heart like the other stuff did.
Right. Yep.
It's kind of like, all right, it's okay. Please don't do it again. And, but they got the taste of the money, and that's, hey, you know what? More power to them if
it worked for them.
Yeah.
A lot of bands tried to go the commercial route and fell flat on their ass.
Mm-hmm.
And, for them, it worked.
It did. Were you anything like we've never talked about this. Were you like a guy when all that alternative stuff, because this is when we first started hanging out. Like, were you like a Sublime or anything like that guy? Can you groove on any of that? Not into it.
I didn't care for any of that.
Okay. That never resonated anything with you.
No.
Okay.
It was just, and a lot of the guys were.
Yeah.
But it just never, all the new metal and the alternative.
Oh, that new metal. Are you talking like Korn and Limp Bizkit and shit like that?
Yeah.
I would be happy, Joel, if a black hole formed and like all of that shit just got sucked into there. I wouldn't care one bit. I'd be like, okay, do that, and throw like 3 televangelists in there with them. It's like, come on.
And to be honest, I thought it was over until I heard Hammerfall.
Hammerfall are great, dude. Hammerfall are great.
And you realize that at least in Europe there was something going on.
Yeah, they really stayed. A lot of Scandinavia and Northern Europe, Germany, Denmark, they stayed pretty solid to the thrash, the metal roots. Like they didn't give up, man.
No. I got to give it to Kai Hansen, man. he did his part to keep it alive.
He sure shit did.
You know,
He really did. Oh, yeah. Halloween. Are you a? I know you are a fan. Oh my God, I just had it on the tip of my tongue. Saxon.
Oh, I love Saxon. Yeah.
You're a big Saxon guy, right?
Yep.
Cool. Did you see them with Judas Priest?
I did not. I saw them twice on their own.
Really?
Yeah. At a small club down here in Reading. In Reading, PA.
Shit.
Yep.
Wow.
Fantastic both times.
That must have been a great show, dude.
I would have loved to have seen them with Priest. What a bill, man.
Yeah. Two of my friends went down to, well, I want to call it First Union. Wachovia? Is that what it's called now?
Yeah.
In Wilkes-Barre?
Yep.
They saw that show there. And I think Saxon opened up for them. They said it was phenomenal. Wheels of Steel. Oh, dude, come on, man. That's
oh, yeah. Wheels of Steel, Crusader, Dallas, 1 p.m.
Oh man, boy, now you're opening up like memory banks now, dude. That's so good. Speaking of that, I've been listening to a lot of Merciful Fate again, and I'm telling you, dude, that is some really really good shit. Like Curse of the Pharaohs, Evil, God, what am I? You know, there's so many more. Like
Don't Break the Oath.
Don't Break the Oath. Like
Melissa.
Dude, that stuff is so good. I just love that whole new wave of metal. Like not just British heavy metal, but like I group them in with like Diamond Head, which is a all-time favorite of yours and mine.
Mm-hmm.
But I group that in like with them and Savage and all, you know, those bands that are in that vein. They're like, that's probably my favorite music. If I had to choose it, like that's probably my favorite like type of music. Like if you got to pick an era, like I love that whole genre, like the Diamond Head, Saxon, Angel Witch, Savage, Sweet Savage, Blitzkrieg.
Sweet Savage was so good, man. Oh my God.
Dude, are they underrated or what? Like,
oh Jesus. Especially their early stuff with Vivian Campbell.
Mm-hmm. Dude, that was phenomenal.
It was.
That was phenomenal. It is so fun to listen to.
Yep.
And everybody like looks at you funny, like, you know, anybody that knows music, they're like, Vivian Campbell was in a band called Sweet. Yeah.
Yeah,
like, people
have no idea.
No. And they don't even know he's Northern Irish. They think he's whatever, you know?
Right.
But yeah, Sweet Savage is great, dude. I had this CD I bought at Circuit City of all places, believe it or not, called the Metallic Era. It had all the original bands with the original songs that Metallica had covered.
Okay.
And dude, Savage, Sweet Savage, Blitzkrieg, Diamond Head. There was like 4 or 5 more, but dude, there was like 15 songs of the original version. Dude, it was so good. It was just so fun. I think I wore it out, like scratched it up. Like I listened to it like endlessly. It was
Budgie's version of Bread Fan and Crash
Budgie.
Course and Brain Surgery. Yeah.
Budgie, how did I forget them? Dude, Budgie were so good.
Yep. Yeah, they were.
Did they remind you of Rush?
Very much.
That's cool, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Like, because I didn't know until I like started. Well, I guess I did know, but I just pretended I didn't want to know. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. But the 3-piece, like, I'm like, oh, okay. They're a 3-piece. Then when you actually watch Bread Fan, like that video that they made, like when they're in the studio just jamming, dude, number one, they're phenomenal musicians.
Yep.
And number two, like that is just some kick-ass fucking rock and groovy music. I mean, it's so good. I was saddened to hear that the singer bass player passed away. I didn't know
Burke.
until
Burke had been sick for a long time.
Had he? Okay.
Yeah. Then that sucked.
I didn't know that. But yeah, I was saddened to hear that. But yeah, I love going. I mean, let's face it, dude. YouTube is so great.
Oh yeah.
YouTube is so great because you can just literally go down a hole and bury yourself in just all this fucking cool shit for hours and hours and hours and hours. I mean, dude, I can go from like like the DB Cooper thing all the way to like listening to Hall and Oates or something. You know what I mean? It's like you can just cover everything. But I get lost a lot, dude, in that old music, man. Like I was in a budgie kick, and then it's so fun because that algorithm that YouTube has keeps the genre going. Like you'll hit a Diamond Head, then you'll hit like a Sweet Savage, and it'll hit a Saxon, it'll a Merciful Fate, it'll hit a Halloween or an Angel Witch, and or even a Venom, throw some like obscure Venom song in.
Mm-hmm.
And Venom were cool. I liked Venom. Did you like Venom?
Oh, I love Venom. I'm going to see Venom in a couple months.
No shit. Where? Down by you?
Yep. Yeah,
cool.
They're coming to Reading. It's about 40 minutes from my house.
So you're still in the Lebanon Jonestown area?
Actually, I'm in Anvil now.
You're in Anvil. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So you're not far from Harrisburg.
No, not far at all. I'm like 20 minutes from Harrisburg.
So you're a half hour from York then?
Yep.
40 minutes, maybe?
40 minutes, yeah.
Yeah. Now, when I was doing those shows with that guy that I used to do antiques with, which sucked that I could never fucking hook up with you, because I was always with him in the truck too. That's the shitty part. But I didn't think that maybe you could come visit me. That's how dumb I am. But I never realized the community down there, how close. So we would stay in York. We would stay over by the York Galleria at the Hampton Inn. So they have the sign there, like Red Lions this way, Womelsdorf's this way. But then you get on Route 30, and it's like Lancaster. You call it Lancaster. I'm gonna do the northern butcher of it, Lancaster. Lancaster.
Yeah.
So I would see the sign for Lancaster, and it was fucking 30 miles, and I'm like, Lancaster's not that far from York.
No.
So then you get over by Lancaster, and then Hershey's not that far.
Nope.
And then you would get back up by Harrisburg and Lebanon. Did I say it right?
Yep.
Lebanon's not that far.
Nope.
And then Anvil and all these other smaller little places are right there. So, dude, I never realized how really close in proximity of Reading, Wyomissing, all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
You ever heard? Okay, let's get some. We're gonna do the Joel Deckert local geography game. I'm gonna see if you've ever heard of some of these obscure little towns in that area of Pennsylvania that I've been to that I never knew of, but they're kind of cool. And by the way, who is responsible for the outlining of the roads down there? Because I'm telling you something, you can be on a road that's this wide and it makes a turn, and then all of a sudden it's oh, okay, here you are. That's kind of weird.
It is weird.
You think you're on a bike path, and then it's oh, okay, but it's neat. There's a charm to it. I'm not, definitely not shitting on it. So I'm gonna give you some obscure. I'm gonna dig into the AZ geography vault here and pull out a couple names, which I'm just making the whole thing up.
Okay.
So okay, Elverson.
No, never been there.
Never been there.
Nope.
Yellow House.
Nope.
How about this one? Ole.
Oh yeah.
Ole.
Yeah. Mark Mess lives in Ole. He has his wrestling school in Ole.
Does he really?
Yep. Ole's it's right down outside of Reading.
Right outside of Reading. It's if you're in Wyomissing at that big fucking mall that looks like a town.
Yep.
Is that still there?
Yep.
If you take that road to the east, I guess it would be out. There's one long road that goes all the way to Ole. And it goes right into Ole. And I used to stay, here we go again, at the Hampton in Wyomissing. And we'd take that road all the way to Ole, and we do the antique show right there at the Ole High School.
Shit,
it was really cool.
From me, man.
Are you shitting me?
No.
I was that friggin' close.
You were pretty close.
So so I want to feel really bad now. How close was I?
I used to go down to Mark's and bump around with him and his guys on a Saturday now and then.
No shit.
Yeah, it was like
You're
40
talking
minutes.
half hour, 40 minutes.
Yep.
Oh my God. You
Yep.
know, I've been known to be a knucklehead now and again, but
You were working.
I was, and I was with a crotchety old dude who, he wanted, dude, you know what killed me every time? You know what, I do want to say, like, that was probably some of the funner times of work in my life. I loved that job. I absolutely loved the job. I loved the travel, and we did a lot of shows down in that PA area. Like York has a big antique feel to it. Like York and Reading and Ole, like they're all kind of old places,
Right.
I forgot what I was talking about. Oh yeah, so I I did forget what I was talking about. Anyway, you so York. So if you're in Anvil,
Right.
You go you go east to Harrisburg or south?
West. Harrisburg is west of us. Yep.
Harrisburg is west of you. Okay. So you're on the other side. Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, dude, like I loved traveling around down there. It was just so much fun. I got like addicted to the Sheets coffee.
Yeah.
And
yep.
Oh, it's so good, dude. And it's funny. The closest Sheets is in Scranton. And like I used to just go for rides just to get it because it was just kind of fun because I like going for fuck off rides for no reason.
Yeah, so do I.
And yeah, dude, it's the best, isn't it? It's just the fucking best. No destination, fucking around. It's so good. If I ever get my car fixed, I can make one down to you. I have a shit box, but no, Smitty, yeah, I love that job, dude. But like I said, I'm not trying to say I didn't, but like he was one of those guys that like this is what I was gonna say. It just came back to me. What the fuck? It must be the glasses. So he would like want to like we would do the show, the antique show, like at the York Fairgrounds. That's where we were, and like say the show ended at 5, like for that day, because it would go 2 or 3 days. So the show would end at 5. We'd get in the truck, and dude, immediately he wanted to go eat dinner, and I'm like, okay, like I'm not gonna say no because the dude's buying, like I'm not gonna say no, but like fuck, dude, like I'd have to fucking like eat this meal at 5, and then dude, by 7:30 I'm hungry again, like I gotta eat, dude. So I figured out like I'd always have to figure out like the hot spots, like there's like a cool little like deli here, there's like this gas station makes good pizza, or this gas station makes good popcorn chicken, or like I used to like to go to oh man, I'm never gonna remember the name of it, but there was this cool little restaurant in York right there on 30, right across from the Best Western, and it was such a cool little diner, man. I could walk actually across the street to it. And crossing 30 is pretty hairy, though. I'm just going to tell you that. Yeah. I'm just going to tell you that. You people in Pennsylvania drive one speed, whether it's on a 30 mile an hour or a 55. You guys all drive 45 everywhere. So it's like fucking. That's like okay. So I can avoid getting hit here, but I'm worse. That's a bad PA joke, I know. But no, dude, it was this really cool little like. I don't want to call it like a 50s like style diner. I want to call it like. This had like a good diner food, like you go in a greasy spoon, and like I always would order this this meal, like I don't know if it was a local meal or not, but it was like all these scrambled eggs and these hash browns and the bacon and everything, but then there'd be like this stuff next to it that I can't remember what it was, but it was really good. It was almost like fatty, like I don't know, like
was it Scrapple?
I think it was. Yeah. It's so awful. It was good.
Yeah, yeah.
And you want to know what it was, dude? It would fill me up, like so I wouldn't have to go get another bag of chips, even though I would. Like
Scrapple.
He's laughing. He's like, "What the fuck?"
Scrapple like, "You're it's like what's left over after they're done butchering, and like." Scrapple's like between hot dogs and dog food.
Really? So no wonder why it's so good. You throw a little garlic and fucking seasoning on it, and there you go.
Oh, my old man used to love it. He'd eat it all the time.
Yeah, my dad would too, because like, here we go, typical like North people, like older people up here like get obsessed with the Amish country.
Yep.
And like my parents were in love with the Amish country. Like I remember going there as a kid, and I remember them going after I didn't want to go.
Watch the barn raisins.
The barn raisings, like, dude, they would stay they'd stay in intercourse, and like they would go to like Lancaster, yeah, but like they go to Burdenhand, like all those little Amish places and stuff, and like, dude, I gotta tell you something, like those Amish people make some fucking banging pies, dude.
Oh my god, dude, they can cook like no one's business and bake.
And
there's a huge buffet down here.
Really?
The Shady Maple.
Ooh, I like the name already.
It's about 40 or about 40 minutes from me. If we go down there for breakfast, that's it. I'm done eating for the day.
No shit, it feels you that good.
Oh my god, dude.
Naps, everything.
Yeah, spectacular buffet.
Oh, is it like one of those family style? Like everything's just, my god. Lauren.
The Mennonites, the Amish, they can do it. Man, they can cook.
So we're going to go on a road trip, and we're going to meet Joel and his wife down at the Shady Maple restaurant.
Yep.
We're going to go to the Shady Maple restaurant and eat breakfast, and then you're going to have to drive home afterward, because I'm probably like, I'm going to need like life support or something, you know?
Yeah.
When in December? I don't care when. I just want to hang out with Joel and eat fucking family style Amish food. Is there any other reason? She's not a road tripper. She is. She's not as exploratory as I am. Not as like, you know. What do you mean you don't have the time?
I work 6 days a week. What am I going to do? Go on a road trip on a Sunday?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I want a couple days.
A couple days?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Now you're not a tourist. You want me to get you a Salt Life sticker and, you know, a collared shirt and go hang out with David?
No, but if you find any cool thrift stores or bookstores or
She-
comic book stores.
You know what she is, dude? She's a thrift store, comic book store person. So
Really?
Joel knows where all those are.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
Good friend of mine has a big, beautiful comic book store down here.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Dude, I can counterpoint that. Her brother owns a comic book store in North Carolina, the biggest comic book store in North Carolina.
Really?
Yes.
Oh man.
Super Galactic Comics and Games. Look it up on Facebook and like it, dude. He's a cool dude. He's a bit of a weird dude, because, you know, he's like a smart dude, and like he's kind of inward, but he's a cool guy, and he knows a lot about all that stuff. And when I found out like he had his own comic book store, like we hit it off like that. And he just, dude, he got so big. Like he just bought this store. Like, long story short, guy he knew was selling the comic book store. Like, hey, dude, I'm going out of business. You want to buy my business? I'm not going to do it anymore. He's like, okay. Yes, that's what you said.
No.
Well, let me pretend I'm making it up then.
He rented the place, he started his own, he bought the guy's inventory. Like how he went up to Sound Around when he was up here and bought all their systems.
What did I just say?
That he bought the business off of someone else.
Well, that makes sense somewhere in the world.
He started it from the ground up, give him some credit.
I was going to get to that. I didn't think he was some chucklehead that just fucking took a comic book on the on the sidewalk and said, "Hey, look." No, he did. He bought inventory from a business that was going out. He found a place. He started his own, and dude, he's expanded so much that he had to buy into the building next door. Like,
wow.
Basically, almost that whole plaza he's in is the store, and it's huge. And you know what? They do more than just comics. Like he has like when like a comic book movie comes out, he'll have like a big event, or they do. Now I'm not into this, and I don't know anything about this, but those card games that everybody does, like I don't know much about that, but it looks cool. And they do a D&D night there too, and like he's doing really well for himself, man. So but we're gonna take a trip down there sometime and do it, and I think that should be another. Down the road, we should think about that. You and I should go down there and do that. That'd be fun, dude. You ever been to North Carolina? I've only been like 3 times.
I've never been. Furthest south I've ever been was down in Virginia.
Okay.
I went down there working for Rambo.
Oh wow.
And yeah.
Rambo.
Yep.
Is that fucker still kicking?
Oh yeah, he lives in Allentown now. He
Does
doesn't
he?
teach anymore. Yeah, he doesn't run shows anymore.
Okay.
Really
So,
enjoyed working for him. He
dude,
was a good guy.
I almost got to work a show with you guys once, but I never got to. I always wanted to. That's one of the things I regret. I always wanted to go work for Rambo. I really did.
John
really,
was
really did.
He was a hell of a worker. He had that territory experience. He had been all over Asia, had been out in the Northwest for years.
Yeah, did you know I saw him on the show they did, Portland Wrestling?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude, he was on there.
Yep. Yeah, he was on there a bunch of times.
Do you ever do that? Do you ever look up old territory programs and
Constantly.
watch them?
Oh,
Isn't
yeah.
that fucking fun?
Yep.
Oh, I'm glad I'm not the only one that does it. She
And
bitches at me. Oh,
it pisses me off that we didn't get to see that back in the day.
I know. Can you imagine, dude, how and dude, I even would have felt fortunate to like be in that, like, because you just knew that was magic, dude. Like, you know, you could go from Memphis to Louisiana, then you could go down to Texas, then you could go up to Portland, then you could go to Kansas City.
Yep.
It's like, dude, you could make a living, dude, a good living, like wrestling.
Do you remember when Fritz brought in the fake Von Erich brother?
Lance Von
Yes.
Erich. He was that super athlete from Dallas that they tried to pass off as a cousin.
Yep.
And boy, that flopped, didn't it?
Oh my God, that was horrible for them. That was, in my eyes, Fritz's biggest mistake.
I think you're right. I think you're right because see, Texas was all about world class.
Yep.
Texas was the Von Erichs. And when Fritz betrayed the state of Texas's, love for him, and we're like, what the fuck? You tried to pass this fake Von Erich off to us? Like, fuck whatever else, dude. Like, they were mad that he tried to make him, and even went on TV and told them.
Yep.
Like, dude.
What I read, and I don't know how true it is. I read that the guy that used to help Fritz run the office down there, Ken Mantell, he was golfing, and he bumped into this guy on a golf course. Big,
really?
handsome, muscle-bound guy, yeah. And he asked, "You ever consider being a pro wrestler?" And that's how they found him.
No shit. That sounds about right. I mean, that sounds right. Because he was a strapping dude. I mean, good looking.
He didn't have the charisma.
No.
But he had the look. I mean, he had he was
did
put
have
together,
He was would you equate him real quick? The charisma of a Goldberg?
I'd put him below Goldberg on the charisma scale.
Oh, but anyway, go ahead.
I never understood why it was done like that.
No.
As I understand it, David had passed, and there just wasn't enough Von Erichs for all the shows they were doing. So Fritz wanted to create a Von Erich. Why didn't he bring in someone from another territory or a tag team from another territory? Then you'd have had two more Von Erichs.
And you know what?
And nobody would have known. This guy was from Dallas. He was from their town.
Yeah,
no one was going to find out who he was.
Yeah. I mean, come on, dude.
I never got that.
I never got that either because, they could have run, Kerry and Kevin as a super tag team. They could have and they did run Kerry and Kevin separate as singles,
Yep.
And, dude, if he focused on book, and, this is nothing against Kevin because Kevin would have been a star in any territory.
Yeah.
But if Fritz really took the time and looked and said, my God, I have a son who is literally sculpted out of rock all he has to do is walk to the men's room at like a truck stop, and he has everybody in that whole place looking at him. Like he had that kind of charisma. Kerry had it all.
Oh, he did.
If I were Fritz, okay, two scenarios. If I were Fritz, I would have put all my money on him and tried to book everybody I could with him. Or B, if I were Kerry, which he finally did, I would have trekked away, because not only did Kerry, in my opinion, see the writing on the wall, but he probably thought, like, you know what, man, this isn't doing me or my family any credit. Like, I've got to go, you know. Do you think that's true?
Yeah.
To a point, like.
I think, he stuck around forever trying to, help out his daddy's company, but at some point they had to think, all right, enough is enough. When he came up north, I just wish Kevin would have come with him.
Me too. And not necessarily as a tag.
No, you're right. Not necessarily as a tag.
It would have been fun to see them together, like eventually.
Yep.
But dude, putting Kevin in a feud with like Henning or Brett, or not Brett, but like DiBiase or something, and letting Kerry, if Kerry like maturized and didn't have his issues and got to go, like I saw Kerry, like I saw big things for him if he didn't like get on the slippery slope, man. I really did.
I've often wondered too what might have happened. Because I often thought, man, you could have put Kerry in that Ultimate Warrior spot,
dude. And I think nothing against Warrior, because I love Warrior, but Kerry could work. Kerry could put you over. Kerry would do business. Kerry the Warrior was just this big bang, like boom, in your face, ripped to shreds, fucking like just out of this world character that they needed then.
Yep.
But Kerry was just this like rock star wrestler. Like he had that rock star charisma. He was fucking good looking. He was polite. Like he was like he kissed babies and helped old ladies cross the street. Like he was one of those guys, dude.
Like you never heard like a mean Kerry Von Erich story.
No.
You've never heard about him being ugly to a fan or having an issue with one of the guys in the back.
No.
I mean, at least I never have.
I never have either. And trust me, dude, I've looked to see, and I've watched shoot interviews of guys talking about him, and they only have nice things to say. I mean, of course, a cheap shot is bringing up all the substance abuse, but you know what? I mean, that's just beat to death. Everybody knows he had a problem.
And you know what? A lot of the guys at that time had that. You can't single them out.
Exactly.
They did shit they shouldn't have been doing, but a lot of guys were doing shit they shouldn't have been doing.
Yes, sir. They absolutely were. I mean, to the point where a lot of them even died back then,
Yeah.
Like, you know what I just thought of, Joel, while we're talking about Texas wrestling and stiff and real smash mouth shit? I never knew that Mark Calloway wrestled as Texas Red against Bruiser Brody.
Yeah.
Dude. So listen, man, how big was Brody?
Oh, Brody.
Like he was eye to eye with Taker.
Yeah. Brody had to be a mountain of a man. Dude.
He had to be, dude. Like he had to be. Oh, Jeremiah saying hello. We were talking about, Joel, real quick. We were talking about buffet. He's talking about the Old Country Buffet. Do you remember that place? That chain of buffets?
Yep. There was
that
one
used
up
to
in
be
Harrisburg.
Yeah, that used to be a good place.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. No, Jared, we're not ignoring you. We're like I said, when me and Joel get rolling, we roll, dude, and it just goes. But yeah, dude, I've tried to go back and watch some Brody matches. Like I've seen the infamous Luger one, but I wanted to see some other stuff that Brody did, like guys that, like with Hanson, with Rhodes and Murdoch, he was even in the AWA for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And like, dude, he was a fucking mountain.
Yeah,
like,
he was a huge man.
And dude, when he threw that boot up and did the boot to you, dude, that was fucking stiff.
Yep.
Like he kicked you in the face, man. It was so cool. Well, what a great, like, I thought he was a cool character. I loved
Oh, so did I.
Brody, man. It was so great.
I've often wondered what would have happened if he had lived.
Yeah.
If he would have ended up with Vince, or I often wonder what his career would have become if his life hadn't been cut short.
It's interesting you say that, because I've actually tried to research through interviews, because there were people that knew inside of knew Brody. I think, don't quote me, but I think I've actually heard he was headed north. Like there were talks, and some of the talks were not just to him being a talent, but I think he might have been tapped for creative, like booking, like too. You know what I mean? Been an agent, like on the road, because he had a good mind.
Yeah, I heard that. I had read before that he knew all about TV production. Like,
yeah,
he knew the TV side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Frank
Goodish, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Frank Goodish. What a fucking tragedy, dude. Like, what the fuck?
That whole thing was.
Now, Jaime, this guy, a friend of mine here, who a friend of the show actually. So he's a Boricua. He's Puerto Rican. It would be interesting if he were still listening to find his take on the whole Invader Brody thing, because he's a big fan of WWC of Puerto Rican Red. So he might know a lot, have a little more insight to us than that. Because dude, I've asked Jaime about all sorts of shit pertaining to Puerto Rican Red, and dude, he knows everything. Like, it's so cool. He's like an encyclopedia of that. It's really, really fun. But dude, what a fucking, now there's no question Invader killed him.
Yeah, pretty much from what I've always heard.
Like Dutch tells a good story. So's Tony Atlas.
Mm-hmm. I've heard Atlas.
Now, Atlas was not just there, but he helped bring him to the hospital and tried to be there with him.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Can you imagine, dude, in the shower, like gutting him?
Yeah.
And the Puerto Rican authorities didn't arrive in time, because I guess they were being stalled by the bookers, Invader and the other guy.
Wow.
Yeah, because wherever that stadium was, no, they weren't being stalled. I'm sorry. There was a Menudo concert next door, and all personnel were over there, so they couldn't make it over to get to him. I guess, I don't know. I guess that's just one of the theories, but like, nah, it's fucked up. Like,
I couldn't imagine being the guy to call his wife and tell her that, that her husband's dead.
Yeah. Due to like a murder. That was a murder. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that.
Premeditated, it sounded like too, because if like I said, here we go again, the snippets that I've taken from interviews, like, they were not getting along most of the day, and like it culminated at that evening. Spivey, I think, was there too. Yep, I think Spivey was there.
I know I watched an interview where it was over money. That they had a disagreement over money, which I have no trouble believing that.
No, me either.
And I have to think that guy was scared of Brody.
It had to be.
I mean, if you're taking the big old Rambo knife, if you're more or less armed, going into the meeting, there's a reason why.
Yeah. I mean, you have a fucking Kodiak bear standing there.
Yeah. So I gotta think he was afraid of Brody.
I think so too. I really do. And you know what? He could have acted out of fear and apprehension, because we don't know if Brody grabbed him or anything like that.
You don't know. The guy, the guy probably didn't want him getting his hands on him.
Well, think about it. If it's you or him, and if Brody had that intention too, I mean, bro,
Right.
you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, you just don't know.
No.
I remember watching an interview with Vader
Oh, okay.
saying he would not go to Puerto Rico then.
Wow.
Because at the time, Leon was still coming up through, I guess, just becoming a star.
Okay.
And he had been contacted afterwards asking him to come down. No, he refused.
He wouldn't go.
Nope. After what happened to Brody, he's no.
No shit. And he would have been like another big man down there, like a big man. Like,
yeah.
I don't think Dutch ever went back either. Dutch Mantell.
I really doubt that Atlas did.
I don't think he did either, and I don't think Spivey did either. Speaking of big man, what do you think of Dan Spivey?
I thought Dan Spivey was great.
I did too. I honestly did too.
Absolutely fearless, man. Big physical guy, moved well.
And he's a legit tough guy, right?
Oh yeah, he was a boxer.
Yeah.
I heard that story. The story, I guess he worked over Adrian Adonis.
Yes.
As the story goes, Adrian would take liberties with some of the guys.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess he did that with Spivey, and Spivey wasn't having it.
and he fed him, right? He was feeding him to him.
Oh yeah.
The one guy said, I can't remember if it was Brunzell or who, but they said that Spivey, when he caught him, like, because Adonis was an actual wrestler. Like Keith Frank was a real amateur wrestler, so he was kind of a tough guy too.
Mm-hmm.
But when and Spivey obviously was a wrestler, like you said, and a boxer.
Yep.
So I guess more of a complete fighter, if you want to call it that. But when he came,
6'8" guy with a good jab. I mean,
that's it, dude. that's really all you got to say. But I guess he split his cheekbone, and they said you could see the actual bone, and they said he just flopped like a fish, like fuck, man, fuck with Dan Spivey. Wow. I guess Sid wouldn't even fuck with him, like Big Sid. Of course, Sid I heard was passive too, like he wasn't the maniac that he portrayed.
Right.
Yeah.
I never liked hearing stories about the guys fighting with each other. I always thought that.
Me either. Yeah, it's not. It doesn't feel good, right? Like when you hear it. Yeah.
No. The last thing I would have wanted ever to do would be to have things go there with one of the guys.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't making money.
No.
So, I thought, what the hell? If I'm not getting paid for this like I should be, at least I'm going to have a good time.
Yeah. And like you said, you make friends, you make memories, and you get to know people, man. And fighting and like getting in a tussle with anybody was like the furthest thing from my mind. Like I wanted to meet people. I wanted to talk to people.
Yeah.
And, learn and experience. It was fun, man.
Money or not, let's just get in there and have a good time. Do a great match. Tell a good story.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you're doing it for you. You know what I mean? And for your own, Yeah, I agree with that. And I agree with that Spivey was great. Like I'm such a mark for the skyscrapers, man. I love the skyscrapers.
Two big giants like that. It was neat to see that.
It was
neat to see, in the Road Warriors' careers, the different tag teams that they worked with.
Mm-hmm.
I was always a big fan of the Powers of Pain.
Me too.
They were the first tag team the Warriors ever faced where they were not the physically dominant team.
100%. I mean, dude, Warlord, man. I mean, forget Barbarian. He's huge.
Yeah.
But that Warlord was just a friggin' specimen.
Like 340 pounds in cut. No one looked like that back then.
No.
I mean, he wasn't shredded, but he certainly wasn't fat.
No, he was solid, man. And you could tell he was solid.
A big, huge, giant man. And that was, that was the first time you saw the Road Warriors where they didn't look, it's like,
no,
they didn't get bounced around like those guys could bounce them around.
No, and I think Barbarian and Warlord are not only taller, but I think a little bulkier than those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
at the time, back in 88, 87, 88, 80, I mean, Barbarian was like 3.25. Warlord was like 340. I mean, as far as powerhouse teams, they were both bench pressing over 600 pounds.
Oh my God.
They had to be They had to be the strongest tag team.
They had to be. They had to be, because I can't think of another tag team that not just were physically together that big, but like you just said, could put numbers up in a gym raw like that. Like, I'm sure.
Go ahead, man.
I was gonna say, I'm sure Scotty Steiner could throw up like 450. Maybe Rick. But like, dude, nobody is rawing 600, man. No.
Well, Arn Anderson told that story on his show. He walked into the gym down there, and I guess Atlanta maybe, and Warlord and Barbarian were doing incline bench presses, 535 for sets of 5, sets of 6. Can you imagine an incline bench press with over 500 pounds for reps? I mean,
Joel,
hey, Jesus.
I struggle now, whatever. I'm not the huge into it anymore, but I stay in shape. But like, for an incline, like for me, just to do what I do, I mean, I'm just doing the 45 plates, man. Like, I'm going to be honest with you, and it's the way I work out. But like, dude, that's enough for me right now. 135 pounds. I mean, forget fucking adding 400 fucking pounds to it. Number one, I'd snap in half because I'm 215 pounds. Number two, if I'm just sitting there staring on an incline and like I'm looking over and there's 2 fucking truck tires sitting here, I'm like, no, forget it. Oh my God, that just like made me sick to think about something like that. My God. And I guess Warlord's still, I mean, he's not like all warlordy, but he's still a big dude.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
he's still a big dude.
Yeah, they say they both look really good.
Yeah.
Still.
Somebody got them both on an interview, and I can't remember if it was that Hannibal idiot or if it was somebody else. But they did a pretty good interview together. Yeah, that Hannibal guy. You ever watch any of those?
Oh yeah, I've seen a lot of Hannibal's interviews.
He's cool, but then he starts getting like if you watch like the single interviews he does where he talks about stuff, like, I mean, he's, I don't know if there's a tinfoil hat laying around in the background for him somewhere, or like the Illuminati's like delivering pizza to him, but he's fucking weird, man.
He's a bit of a strange cat.
He's a strange cat, yeah. Like, I could get down on it. Like, I like the interviews, but yeah, he gets a little crazy sometimes. But
I'd like to see him.
ahead.
I'd like to see him interview Blackman.
I would too. And I really can't believe you just said that name, because I was just gonna say, Joel, give me a little Blackman. Steve Blackman. Okay, number one, big powerful dude.
Oh yeah. People have no idea how strong he was.
I just, even he was smaller when he rose to fame, right? He wasn't as big as he used to be.
Yeah, he weighed about 250, 255 when he worked the WWE, when he was doing their TV. When I first met him, he was like 275. So he'd do a jump spinning kick over your head. I mean, his agility, for as massive as it was, his agility was amazing. And his speed.
I've heard other guys speak of it. He was almost so fast, it was difficult to even see him throw a punch sometimes.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, like, Steve Blackman? Okay, I want to ask you this, since you have the knowledge and the experience to answer this in the context that I'd like to understand it in. You put Shamrock and Blackman in a real MMA fight. We'll call it an MMA fight. Who has the upper hand? Because that's a tough one, right?
That is a very tough one.
Because we know Shamrock can wrestle.
Yeah.
But Blackman, I don't think he can strike as good as Blackman.
Personally, I'd say no. Can he throw some good boxing combinations?
He does.
But Steve was so skilled with his hands and his feet.
Yeah. See,
So
that's the scary. That's the scary part.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he could probably kick you just as fast as he could punch you.
And then he was a hell of a wrestler too.
Steve was.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, he knew his share of submission holds. Yeah. Steve could hook you. He could stretch you.
Oh my God.
That's not, maybe that's not his rep, but trust me.
If he had to, he'd wrap you up.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, dude. What's he doing nowadays? Do you know?
The last I heard, he was a bail bondsman. He had Blackman's bail bonds.
Oh, fuck.
Up in Harrisburg.
So, dude, can you imagine? Like, you're on the lam, you're this fucking douchebag, jumping bail and fucking beating up his girlfriend and then, fucking wrecking his mother's car. And, across Steve Blackman's desk comes your name. And next thing you know, like, you're hanging out, in some, like, ramshackle apartment in, in Allentown or Philadelphia, and you get this knock on the door. And fucking out there, you look out there, and there's fucking Steve Blackman. I mean, I'm just getting on my knees. I'm just getting on my knees and putting my hands behind my head and going, I'm done. Like, there's no window high enough. There's nothing. Sorry, I'm not. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
But when I see him referenced like on Facebook and the wrestling pages, I gotta chuckle because they talk about how dangerous he is. And he is.
Yeah.
But he's the nicest guy you ever met.
He seems it. He seems very like mellow, soft.
Yeah, he's very there was one gym when I was a kid. There was a gym here in town where a lot of the bigger, stronger guys trained.
Okay.
The guy that owned it was a power lifter. It was a very, very massive power lifter.
Oof.
And that's where Steve would train. That's how I met him.
Oh, no shit.
But he was always just one of the guys. I mean, it's not like we all got out of his way and were afraid of him. He didn't, I mean, we all knew who he was and what he was.
Yeah.
But he was just always friendly, polite. He'd laugh with you. He was very, very down to earth guy.
Right. He wasn't just like uncaged.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah. I saw him go off once when Benoit died and him and Mero were going back and forth.
Yeah, I remember watching that.
Dude, I couldn't believe.
Yeah.
Could you believe Mero like fucking pushed him to that? And he's fucking Blackman freaked out.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy, that's kind of fucking scary. Like,
well, I remember when he cracked Bradshaw in the airport.
Did he?
Oh yeah, he clubbed Bradshaw in an airport. And
shit.
And I spoke with him afterwards, and I asked him, what the hell happened there? He said, well, he's one of those guys that when he gets on you, it just. But I remember thinking, what the hell did Bradshaw do to get?
Yeah.
Because that story's on YouTube. Man, look that up sometime.
I'm gonna look that up. Now you just piqued my interest here, like because
I remember thinking, and I don't care how big, I'm sure Bradshaw's a big dude, and I'm sure he could fight. But why you want to, push Steve's buttons? I have no clue.
That's you ever see that guy that like goes to the zoo and like sits there and like knocks on the glass of the tiger, pissing him off, and that tiger is just sitting there like this, just staring at him, like. That's what you're essentially doing, I think, with Blackman, right? Like fucking.
Like you're like the guy that's slapping the bear across the face with a newspaper.
Oh my god! Wonder why you got 7 claws stuck up your ass. Yeah. Oh God. Oh fucking no. Blackman's great.
Yeah, I
Blackman.
used to go to him for a lot of advice, wrestling, lifting. He was always just a pleasure to talk to. Very nice guy.
Oh,
Very wouldn't bullshit you. He'd let you know if you asked him, what his thoughts were. He'd give you his thoughts. But
straight up, like,
yeah,
cool.
Just a real stand-up guy.
You gotta, and I hate saying it, but even in the normal world, like, you don't find even that anymore around here anymore. It's everybody's agenda driven or divisive, or you know what I mean. It's like nobody's just cool, man. Nobody's just like, all right, man, cool. Let's talk. Nobody does that anymore, dude. There's very, very few people. Everybody wants to like as soon as they find out you vote one way or the other, or you believe one way or the other, it's like nobody can just see a person for a person and be like, all right, this guy's a cool dude. You know? Because I mean, I'm not positive what your spirituality is, but I'm not much of one, and I will talk to anybody and hold a convo with anybody, whatever faith they are, whatever faith they aren't. A human level is what I want to be on, because
the older I get, the more I get that way. I enjoy talking to people and getting to know them.
Mm-hmm.
It just interests me what other people's stories are.
Me too, dude.
The paths people walk in life.
Mm-hmm.
And
it could be the simplest of people, the most normal. It could have a very, very intriguing and interesting story.
Yeah.
And you would never know.
Well, my wife's dad, he was in Vietnam. He was in Marine Corps. Then he was in a biker gang. I mean, they would ride, all the way across country.
Wow.
On a whim, go across the Rocky Mountains, go out to California, just ride till they see the ocean.
No shit.
Turn around, go home, come home through the deep South. And I've often wondered, because he was such a quiet, subdued guy.
Yeah.
And to meet him later on in his life before he passed, who knew?
Yeah. It was unassuming like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The things that he must have seen out there on the road, and taking those old 70s Harleys.
Yeah.
Thousands of miles. You'd be lucky to get out of your neighborhood.
I was gonna say, fucking, you gotta have a spot for your toolbox, man. Fucking, those things rattle apart.
Yeah, and those guys did. They just get on their bikes and they would go, man. And which I assume that was kind of like a form of therapy, maybe.
I think so.
After being over there in that mess,
Dude, I think they probably did that to breathe, in lack of a better term, man. But that had to be shit. That had to be shit.
But yeah, it's always interesting to sit and listen to people, because you don't know someone's story.
No, you don't. And it could be bland and nothing, but there's a better chance that you're going to hear something cool. Like, storytellers are the most random people. Like, you don't even know. Like, you can see this meager, unassuming guy, and then if you sit down and talk to him, and he wouldn't even know he's telling a story in this really, really great way that's capturing you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I dig that, man. I dig that a lot. I listen to this podcast called The Moth Podcast on NPR, The Moth Radio. Dude, there's some amazing, amazing stories out there. They just tell a 10, 15 minute, 20 minute story. It's all personal stories, man. It's really, really cool. You got to check that out.
When I was a kid, my dad used to listen to Paul Harvey all the time.
Paul Harvey. Whoa.
To this day, I like Paul Harvey.
That's a name I haven't thought of in a long time.
I just tell you the most off the cuff stories. I always enjoyed sitting listening to that when I was a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. He was quite a character.
Mm-hmm.
No shit, Paul Harvey.
He told a story one time. 2 cars were in a head-on collision in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
They were only going 10 or 15 miles an hour. There's no real damage. And I was thinking, what's the point to this story? Who cares? Well, it was like the early 1900s, and they were the only two cars in Kansas City.
What?
They just happened to be on the same street at the same time. It's
wow.
And that just always cracked me up. And to this day, I remember listening to that.
You had me there too, dude. I was like,
I'm sitting there faithfully for an hour listening to this guy talking. What's the point here? Because till then I was too invested to turn him off.
Oh yeah, no. You get to a point where like you're over it, but like you can't. Like you got to stick it out because you're like, fuck, I'm gonna miss something, man.
Yeah, like sitting. Yeah, but now, you have to know what the payoff is.
You have to know what the payoff is.
And it's to this day I remember that. I was probably like 6 when I heard that, and I still remember it.
You mentioned something earlier about bikes. Are you a motorcycle guy?
No.
Okay.
No, and there's a lot of reasons for that.
Okay. No, I just never. I didn't know if age brought that on. Maybe you wanted to try it, but I didn't know if you had a bike or was interested. But I remember you never used to be.
No.
So.
And the whole thing is, I wouldn't mind, but I have a pretty obsessive personality.
Mm-hmm.
And if I would get into that, I would really want to get into that.
Okay.
I would not buy a big expensive motorcycle to sit in my garage and collect dust.
Right. You'd be out doing it.
I would want to be out and ride and explore and, just with my job and my family, it just couldn't happen.
No.
And to me, if you're not going to do it right, then
don't do it at all.
Don't do it. Yeah.
I'm a motorcycle dude. Not the kind, not a Harley guy at all. I'm like an enduro, dual sport kind of guy.
Right.
I had a Kawasaki. It's called the KLR, and my God, was that a great bike! It was cool because I bought it at a time like when not only I needed wheels, but like my kids had moved away, and like where they moved to, like 45 minutes away, as the crow flies, was a great ride. So like when I got my bike, I was like, and I had an enduro too, so I could go on the dirt road. I could go on like the bumpy road, like, and then I could jump on the highway, and it was so fun, man. And yeah, I'm absolutely 100% not a Harley Davidson guy, not any of those big chrome loud. Like, dude, I like my bike because it would go fast enough. Right. It would go over the right terrain, and I rode it all year, dude. I rode it in the wintertime. I would ride it to work in the winter. It was that durable, that tough. So I ended up selling it. I'm gonna get another one, much to somebody's chagrin. But
I have a lot of friends that ride. I have family that rides.
Oh, do you?
Oh yeah. I'm around the culture all the time.
Okay.
All the time.
Cool.
I have friends that are in different clubs and all that, but it's just, I don't mind hanging out and partying and having a good time with them, but
yeah, immersing yourself with their yeah. No, me either. I'm a solitary, like, because like I said, I enjoy riding, but mine was also a means to an end. Like, it was a cheap way of traveling and a fun way of traveling, Like I would get probably, I don't know, 100 mile, 80, 100 mile out of a gallon. So,
wow, man.
Yeah, it was good, dude. Joel, did you realize that we have been on 1 hour and 54 minutes? And it just kind of passed like the wind.
Time flies, man.
It sure does. I think we're going to wrap it up on that. How do you feel about that?
All right, man.
Real quick, I got to give a rundown and a shout out to all the other shows on our Pop Culture Pros group, which you are a member of. We have the Yankees show, Empire 161. We have the Mets show, which we call the flagship show. Put it in the books because the boss, that's his main show. I hear Unsportsmanlike Conduct's coming back. That's a football show. Not a big football guy, but a lot of people are. And they enjoy it. Also, the Just Too Sweet show, which you are also going to appear on this coming Tuesday. There's a spoiler for everybody. Joel's going to join us Tuesday for some real wrestling talk. This is just we just did a bullshit session here today, which is great. Matter of fact, but he's going to be on the Just Too Sweet show with us Tuesday, and there's like 3 other new shows on our network, Joel, and I'm failing to. Oh, Black Lincoln Collective, a bunch of guys from the South get on and shoot the shit, and they have guests and stuff. It's kind of fun. Skyline Reviews is 2 girls, Abby and Ashley, or Gabby and Ashley. I'm gonna get killed for that. They're into Disney, all things Disney,
Nice.
and they chronicle, like, it's kind of cool. Like, they chronicle, like, they'll go like old rides, or the most obscure rides, or the top 10 discontinued, or this, that. Dude, I didn't think there was that much to Disney World, Disneyland, but dude, they make it like interesting to me. I'm like, holy fuck, this is kind of cool. So that's a cool show too. Also, there's a deep dive show. They did 007, and now I think they're doing. Oh, I can't remember what movie they're going into now, but they do a deep dive, and every week they chronicle all the movies that are in that series, and it's pretty cool. And then you come right back to this show, which is on every Friday, the A2Z program. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. I thank everybody for listening, everybody for their comments. Or we couldn't get to a lot of them. But Joel, as always, brother, thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, man.
It is always the best time. It is always a pleasure. And I cannot wait until we have you on again this coming Tuesday.
All right, man. I'll see you then.
I'll see you then. You got anything you'd like to say before we go?
No, I'm good. It's been a blast, man. It's
Perfect,
been a lot
man.
of fun catching up.
Awesome. Well, for Mr. Joel Deckert, I'm Eric Zan on the A2Z program, and we're going to see you guys next time. And you can hang right on, Joel.